record because I forgot that on my last one. Right, so welcome to my session on 21st century skills and a little touch on the growth mindset. And we have our little, what would you call it? Like a mascot, that's the word, a mascot today, our little fish in the corner there. I think we're going to call him Bob for this session. So we've got Bob helping us out with Mindset is Everything. So I'm Colette Mazzola Randles and I'm a senior tutor in computing for learning, teaching and assessment. Okie dokie. Right, let's get going. So the aim of this session is to investigate the tools that I've used in the learning environment to embed 21st century skills and the growth mindset, and connect with teaching and learning theory and a little bit of research to enhance our knowledge. A lot of it will be stuff you already know, but hopefully it'll be useful just to re-jog your memory. So why did I do this? What was the point? So the problem that I found in the research is that students lack the focus on self-regulated learning behaviours. Now, at first, I wasn't really sure how I could connect this or what it was all about, but it's all about students knowing what they're good at and what they're not good at. So it's preparing them to be a critical analyst of their own abilities. So here, what is self-regulation? So Zinnemann and, I can never pronounce this, I apologize, Schuck, I don't know. Anyway, in 1989, they developed a framework that has 3 phases. Now, the phases are very personal to the person that's actually, going through the self-regulatory learning behaviors. But I think they all kind of link onto each other and they all allow students to reflect on what they're doing and how they're doing it. Now, I say students, but this could be staff related as well. As educators, we are constantly, looking at our abilities, looking at our, what we're good at, what we're not so good at, what we could improve, etc., etc. So I think it is really, really important to recognize that it isn't just always, student focused, it can be staff focused as well, which I think is really important. So the first phase is performance phase, which is that self-control. So that attention of focusing your attention on what you are good at, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, that self-observation. And sometimes that's difficult. So the second phase, which is my favorite, I must admit, is the self-reflection phase. So making that critical judgment on actually, what am I good at? What am I not so good at? How can I improve? So that it is my favorite section, and I'll get to why in a little minute. And then the third section is very much action focused. So forethought, so setting goals. For example, I might not be very good at breaking down data to analyze it. So I would set a goal to improve my skills in analyzing data, for example. But I'm sure you can all connect with this and you can all link with, you have those students in the class that aren't very good at certain things, but they don't actually see it for themselves. So allowing that reflective element is really, really important. So that's the basis. Now, this is not very clear, but I will send this presentation out to anybody who wants it. But this gives you some active tips to improve metacognition and self-regulated learning. So things like promoting it within the class. So being open and, talking about self-regulation in terms of your abilities, oh, I'm not very good at this, but I could improve it by doing X, Y, Z. Is good. So you're modeling behavior that you want students to see and do, which again is a really good thing. So I will send this out, but this is just a bit of a chart that I've had up in my office at home just to kind of keep me focused on what I was looking at in terms of recommendations for self-regulation. So the growth mindset. So what is it? Why is it important? And who cares, really? So the growth mindset is basically about empowering staff and students. You might know this framework already, you might not. It's by a lady called Carol Dweck, and the research dates back to the 80s. It's very psychological based research. But the basic parameters are there are two different mindsets. One is a fixed mindset and one is a growth mindset. So I've got a little video here that I found really useful that I'm just going to share with you. And it's just going to outline the very basics of a fixed and growth mindset. So if somebody could just tell me you can hear the audio when it comes on, that would be awesome.
Researcher and professor Carol Dweck uses the term mindset to describe the way people think about ability and talent. Dweck delineates between two different mindsets that exist on a continuum. The first is the fixed mindset, which suggests that your abilities are innate and unchangeable. The second is a growth mindset, which views it as something you can improve through practice. In a fixed mindset, you view failure as permanent, but with a growth mindset, you see failure as a chance to learn and even pivot. Those with a fixed mindset are more likely to view critical feedback as a personal attack, while those with a growth mindset will see it as a chance to improve, where they can develop new systems. With a fixed mindset, you're more likely to choose easier tasks and put in minimal effort. After all, if talent is fixed, why bother improving? Why even try? But with a growth mindset, you're more likely to embrace challenging tasks and work hard to improve. Those with a fixed mindset are likely to give up when they face an obstacle. Meanwhile, those with a growth mindset will view obstacles as a chance to experiment and solve problems. In a fixed mindset, the focus is on measurable accomplishments. But with a growth mindset, the focus is more on a journey of continual improvement. With a fixed mindset, you're less likely to take creative risks. But with a growth mindset, creative risks are simply a way to innovate and improve. Ultimately, your mindset influences everything from creative risk-taking to how you view feedback to whether or not you finish difficult tasks. And in the end, it's one of the greatest factors in determining whether or not you grow and improve in your abilities.
So for me, I think that really sort of explained it really well. I mean, I like to waffle, but I thought that really sort of cohesively put it in the picture for us. And I think we've got Bob on our screen again with mindset is everything, but I think, you know, the graduate attributes have been alluded to all morning today, and I think, you know, the growth mindset and self-regulated behaviours really does link systematically with what the college want our students to have at the end of their journey with us. But I think one of the things that I want to pull from this is the fact that as educators, we need to embrace the growth mindset. We need to have that, you know, optimistic, you're not there yet mentality. And sometimes that can be very challenging. I appreciate that. But I think in order for students to develop this growth mindset and these graduate attributes, I really feel that we should pioneer this ideology going forward. So yeah, that's my take on self-regulated behaviours and growth mindset. So over the course of the last 16 months, I would say, I've created a framework of 21st century skills. Now, this has been an iterative process, but this is the end product at this moment in time. That's not to say that this is not going to change, because I can 100% guarantee after today's presentation, a couple of people will say, oh, Colette, could we add this onto it? Or could we add this onto it? And that is absolutely fine. You know, I'm more than happy to collaborate and make this even bigger and, you know, develop it even further. So, you know, it is still an iterative process. But the basic sort of premise to this framework is we identified 5 C's that could embed 21st century skills. So they are critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, communication, and connected. Now, originally, I just got the headings. Then I went on to think about what are the actual skills that need to be embedded under these headings to really sort of map it out. So we've got things like problem solving, effective listening. You've got things like working creatively with others, flexibility, curation of a community, you know, different things that these are skills that we want our students to have. But the next step for this was, right, this is all good and well, having all these skills, but how do I actually do this in my classroom? Wait a minute, I haven't got a classroom anymore. How do I do it online? So this is developed very much for digital delivery as well as in classrooms. But in terms of digital delivery, the use of Microsoft Teams and breakout rooms identified that a lot of these skills can be embedded as part of your practice. However, it needed a little bit more than that. Microsoft Teams and breakout rooms wasn't enough to harness the reflective element that we needed to really sort of do that full cycle of self-regulated behaviours. So I introduced Flipgrids to my students. Now, some of you might be aware of what Flipgrid is, some of you might not. A Flipgrid is basically a tool where students can record either their audio or their video, and they basically talk back on reflections, or they could present something. I used it very much for reflections, and I found that some students were willing to reflect, some students weren't. So to be inclusive, they could either do video and audio, they could do audio, or they could just type it out. So it was very inclusive. Everybody had their own opportunity. But I just wanted to share with you a couple of reflections from some of my students, just to showcase how it does support self-regulated learning and a growth mindset. So here we go.
The main points that I've learned from today are to always stay objective, to question the information that I'm being given, make sure it's reliable and that the source hasn't, used their opinion instead of the fact. I really enjoyed the teamwork that we did. It made me just realise, how much I do take things at face value. I do a lot of the time just go with what people say, that I do need to work on that and build on.
Today's session, I learned more than I could ever have thought about Humpty Dumpty. I mean, I had the preconceived notion, like as soon as I saw Humpty Dumpty, I had thought about it before previously, that nowhere in the actual Humpty Dumpty is it an egg. And then it was a thing to just kind of focus me more and making sure that I actually literally look at everything critically, instead of taking anything at face value. I guess I don't think I want to take anything at face value ever again in my life, which is exactly what I'm going to take away. Life is going to be exhausting now. Thanks. This is all your fault.
Surprisingly, I enjoyed presenting the poster, and also the feedback was quite positive, and I found there was quite a lot I could say about the analysis.
It was really good to do the presentation today, to go through it and present it to other people, and also discuss with other people how they'd approached the question, how they'd presented the data, what kind of graphs they'd used, what data they'd used. So it was very beneficial to be able to present my point of view and the data that I've used.
So for me, I'll just clarify about the Humpty Dumpty thing, because if I heard that, I'd be a bit like, well, what the hell is she teaching? So basically, I use nursery rhymes to teach students paraphrasing. So I give them a nursery rhyme and I ask them to paraphrase it and back it up with, obviously, credible references. So Doug's group got Humpty Dumpty and they absolutely loved it, and they really understood the sort of fundamentals behind paraphrasing from it. So yeah, that was why he was talking about Humpty Dumpty. But I think there it really showcases that students are reflecting on what they're doing and the skills that they are bringing to the table, in terms of their own development, but also helping other people in the group. So this second video, which is only just over a minute, is just a reflection on online learning in its entirety. So using breakout rooms, and it's very much from a student perspective, because I think that's the most important thing.
What did I enjoy most? Probably the collaboration. It was good hearing and working with people I don't work with. How is it learning online? I prefer it. I prefer learning online to learning in person most of the time.
The fact that we broke into separate groups to do it, obviously because we can't be in a classroom setting, it sort of provides that sort of classroom setting, I guess. I'm usually not one for group work, but it was actually really easy to get hold of because we're in the comfort of our own home, so we can it's just sort of like a little voice call, like really, really good.
I enjoyed the doing today and doing the work, like actually physically going into groups doing things. It's all quite informative, easy to listen, which is a good side of online learning because you can just mute everybody and just hear you.
Learning online is slightly better than I thought, as it uses as the use of webcams creates the effect that we're still in the classroom. And during the session, I was able to use my communicational skills to work in a team, as we had a deadline that the presentation had to be completed by.
Learning online was great as a whole. I managed to concentrate a lot better than I do in class. Definitely presenting. I can talk more confidently here than I can in front of people. And learning that I can talk like that has probably helped me present better in future. Hopefully presenting better in person in future as well.
So you can see from that, you know, the students' experience and the students' reflections of online learning have been really positive. Now, I'm not saying that every session has been positive and every student has engaged, but in terms of trying to get students engaged in the learning and trying to get them involved in reflecting, we've had a really positive outlook from students. And I definitely believe that it has developed those self-regulated learning behaviours and a growth mindset. So thank you very much. That is all I have for you today. Bob says thank you very much as well. If you do want to hear anything else, I have got some videos on a sense of belonging on my YouTube, so feel free to go and have a look at that. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. But that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Colette.
Thank you.
Cheers, Colette.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colette.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Colette.
No problem. Thank you. Oh, I'm glad you like the PowerPoint in action as well. That's really good.
I do have a question, Colette, around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it's over, do you get a copy of all the notes that are generated, and can you download it or save it anywhere?
So in terms of the notes, do you mean the live captions?
Yeah.
I think you can. So in terms of accessibility, you can download that as a script, for instance.
That's what I'm thinking of for accessibility, and
yes.
It's just useful as notes just around your session.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the person who sets it up at the end of it gets a report of if anybody's liked something or if there's been any interaction in it. So that's also really good as well, because I think you'll get asked to fill in like a feedback form, which is just like 3 questions, which is really helpful. But if you want to have a play around with it, give me a bell and we can have a play around with it. That's
excellent.
fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Colette.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There's still a few breakout rooms still going.
Did anyone find out how we access the recordings? Does that go to Carol's account or is it our account? Because I can't seem to find the recording from my breakout room.
Not sure yet. Not got that far.
That's fine. I'll keep looking for it, see if I can find it. But if not, it might go onto your account because host maybe.
Thank you.
Maybe we can make that request, Colette, when everyone's back. Anyone that's presented, if you stumble across their own recordings,
that'd be cool. Yeah, thank you.
Others would be really helpful. Sorry, obviously I have no idea.
I'm done, by the way, Helen. If we're waiting.
Do you know, Mark? Did you record your session? And do you have any idea?
I tried to do it both times, but it wouldn't let me record it. I'm happy to record it again for you at another time if you want.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't know why. It was doing what Anna said before. When I tried to record it, it just kept giving me like a place to save it, and then it wouldn't give me a save option. So I'm not sure why. But I'm happy to record it on Teams, and you can keep it that way if you like.
Okay, no, thank you. I know we're just keen to sort of create a range of resources, and so perhaps whilst you're in the flow of it,